myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
Jeter ends his final game with a walk-off single.
Here's a drive to left. That one is long gone.
Welcome to the Long Gone Podcast. It's me, Michael, and with me as always, S-Man.
What up?
Steve Ford.
Yeah. Sorrow. Yeah. I guess this is the first time I've incorporated a hymn into the opening. It's one of my favorite hymns that we would sing in church, and I just tweaked the words on it.
I like it.
It was a kind of a somber opening, but we can kick things off a little bit with Happy 250.
Happy 250.
Man, you believe that? We've been doing this shit for a long time.
Yeah, we've been on. Yeah, man.
Yeah. Cheers
long
to you, man.
time.
Long time for the long gone.
Long time for a long gone. Yeah, we're up at 250 episodes. This is our 250th episode. We have a cool guest we're going to talk to in a little bit. But first off, we take it down to a little somberness. As Steve's into the intro, somebody's died.
Lost some people this week. Yeah. Mickey Lolich. I mean, that was
Mickey
a big
Lolich,
one.
man.
That's what we'll kick things off with. I think what was that a Wednesday? We recorded on Tuesday, and I think he passed on Wednesday.
Yep.
And and then you did a really nice segment that we recorded. You recorded separately, just talking about Mickey Lolich. Just it's a big loss. These older ball players talk about a lot. They just they keep going and passing away, and it's going to happen, but still it you're not prepared for it. And I know Mickey Lolich is a big one for you. I mean, your dog's name is Mickey.
Right.
So just Mickey Lolich, what he means to you, and I can talk a little bit about what he means to me. I know you talked to, like I said earlier, you did record a little segment on your own, but just talk a little bit about Mickey Lolich and what he means for you personally.
Yeah, well, enough many people know, but he's my father. No,
holy shit!
My mom was a whore. No,
your mom pipes in. She sticks her head in. Michael, shut your mouth.
Listen, if you go on our YouTube, Steve and I, we have a couple YouTube channels. We have one through our affiliate with Underdog Podcasts, Long Gone. I mean, that's where the majority of you have been. And obviously, we want you guys to also listen to our other YouTube channel, which is Long Gone, the podcast, which is at Long Gone, the podcast. And, there we have these episodes, but we also give a little bit extra, right? I mean, I think I just did a Mickey Lolich tribute. I did the penny sleever unboxing last week as well. Yeah, I mean, Steve and I are going to incorporate a few more, a couple other things in the podcast. That way you guys kind of can get content literally every day somehow. You know what I mean? So
that's what we've been trying, for sure.
Yeah. And as we keep growing, it's been great. And, I thought it would have been really cool to give a tribute to Mickey Lolich. And I mean, and kind of go with, I threw some cool graphics up there and
talk really well done.
Me and Steve, thanks. Me and Steve, we in the beginning of the podcast, I mean, right away, we were rocked with Al Kaline passing. We've had a couple other people pass. And then since then, it seems like every year we're getting a few more legends, right? Pete Rose, Willie Mays, and it keeps coming. And we know that era of ball players, I mean, they're slowly dying off. And that's, it's really sad because Steve and I, we have, when it comes to baseball, we're kind of old souls, right? I mean, Steve loves, I mean, I do too, but I mean, Steve really loves the old hits, right? The Motown and a lot of that. And, we feel the same way about baseball where, I mean, we really connect more with some of the older players and how the game used to be played because they set the standard how we see the game. So, and Mickey Lolich is one of those guys. I mean, he was a Tiger great. One thing I've always loved about Mickey Lolich, which, I said in the tribute video, is he was a workhorse. He set the standard of which every pitcher getting paid millions and millions of dollars should be doing today, in my opinion, and that's
Yep.
why you're seeing more injuries now is because 'cause they're just not pitching enough, but which you
Yep.
hear me and Steve talk about all the time, and Mickey Lolich was no exception. I mean, there was times where it was just I mean, in the dog days of summer, he was carrying that club, and he
Yeah.
was arguably probably their best left-handed pitcher of all time. Um, Tigers franchise record, Steve, career wins, 207 career strikeouts, 2,679, 39 career shutouts. Games started 459, single season strikeouts, still the Tigers leading in 71 with
Mhm.
308. So Mickey Lolich was great, man. I mean, it was a time where the baseball was at its highest, and Mickey Lolich, while he wasn't a big name in the sport, he was in Motown, and that's
Yeah.
why he really connected with Michigan and loved Michigan. And yeah, just passed away in his 80s, 85. Yeah,
85, yeah. I mean, and for me, having, people have learned I'm big into collecting, autograph memorabilia, and, Mickey Lolich actually was the first autograph that I got that kickstarted my love of getting autographs and stuff. It was, 2008, and I was 24, I think, and the Whitecaps were doing a, tribute 40th anniversary to the '68 Tigers, and, my mom and I got a couple of tickets, and I had one of them, Tiger yearbooks that I just started collecting, and I brought it out, and it was Mickey Lolich, Gates Brown, and John Hiller, and now only,
yeah,
John Hiller's the only one that's still alive there, but, just a really cool guy. I got to meet him once or twice after that, and, yeah, just, a fixture. I mean, he single-handedly almost, won the Detroit Tigers that '68 World Series, 3 complete
yeah,
games, when you talk about a workhorse, you don't see that shit anymore. I mean, in, 1971, he was, I think, runner-up to Vida Blue, for the Cy Young. He pitched, like, 370 something innings. People aren't getting that in, like, 2 years. It takes 2 or 3 years now for people to get up near that mark, and he did it all in 1 year, and I think he was on the Hall of Fame ballot for a while. I don't think he got higher than 20 something percent, but he was on, all 12 years or so on the ballot. But
yeah,
just a workhorse, one of the greatest, not only in Detroit, but one of the greatest left-handed pitchers I think of all time. And I didn't know that he had switched to being a left-handed pitcher because of a tricycle accident in his youth. Made him, go from right to left-handed, and yeah, it sucks. Sucks seeing another, baseball legend gone again, but life well lived, 85 years old, and, yeah, rest in peace.
yeah. I mean, to this day, has the second most strikeouts for a left-handed pitcher in
Yep.
AL history, which is pretty cool. And
Mhm.
like I said in my tribute to him, I mean, should he be in the Hall of Fame? No,
No.
I don't think so. Tigers Hall of Fame, yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Um, Michigan Hall of Fame, which he is. He's in the Michigan
Yep.
Sports Hall of Fame. I mean, he was a model of consistency. He was a very good pitcher, and yeah, it's just one of those things. I mean, I had a special connection to him just through my dad and
Yeah.
my grandpa and how the
Uh-huh.
stories that they passed down to me. It's not like I never got to see the guy in person in terms
Uh-uh.
of playing. And
Yep.
Steve and I, we grew up on Sports Century, right? We
Yep.
grew up on those old Tigers clips that Fox Sports would show, and
Mhm.
Mickey Lolich was a big, was always in those. And I don't know, it was just kind of cool, And then so I incorporated Mickey Lolich, and he was kind of a symbol in some of my stories, my books and stuff like
Yeah.
that for being the like, I don't know, kind of a symbol of just keeping going, you know what I mean? Not
Uh-huh.
for clout, not for anything, just other than just keep on working hard, and
Yep.
I always appreciate about them. So yeah, definitely definitely sad to see him pass. And then obviously 2 more Negro League legends
Yep.
passed. And see, and those ones, I mean, they're it's almost like World War II veterans, right? They're
Yeah.
becoming fewer and fewer,
Fewer and
more so
fewer,
now
man.
than ever. Yeah, Negro Leaguers was like, I mean, there's not very many of them left at all. And with the passing
Mm-mm.
of Clinton Forge and Ron Teasley Jr.
Jeez. Yeah. I mean, like you said, yeah, like the war veterans, they're becoming few and far between. And Clinton Ford, yeah, passed away. I love his nickname, Tiny. Passed
Tiny.
away here at the age of 90. Um, when he played for the Detroit Stars, I think, he was a catcher there where you got to face people like, when Hank Aaron was still in the Negro Leagues, you got to go up against Hank Aaron. Yeah,
Yep.
it's sad to see, people, legends like this passing away, but it's great that we have the Negro Leagues Museum. We talked to Bob Kendrick here later in the show to continue telling these stories and continuing their voice that, the people may be gone, but, what they did and their stories live on forever. So I'm glad that we have these museums and people that have, talked to these legends to continue telling their story and hearing their voice through, exhibits and things like that. So
Yeah, Quentin
it
Forge,
is.
he got to
Yep.
be at, the Rick Wood Field event in
Yep.
'24. Ron Teasley, not a junior, senior, that was my mistake. Outfielder, native of Detroit, Michigan, so you have
Yep.
another 2 guys that have Detroit connections have passed
Uh-huh.
away, and he played
Yeah.
for, Teasley played for the New York Cubans. Uh, yeah, I mean, he died at 99, right? So,
Jeez.
yeah, at 99, baseball outfielder, never made it, he was never any, like, big star, like, who put up, like, huge numbers, but, he
Alright.
was I would say a star of the league removed, right? One that is
Uh-huh.
just on a remembered in Michigan lore and Negro League lore. So, yeah, I mean, you were losing more and more legends. It's pretty
Yep.
sad, but we gotta remind everybody this is our 250th show. We can't be sad forever.
We can't be sad the whole time. Yeah, we
And
can't play
why
the,
aren't we sad today, Steve? Why aren't we sad today?
"Why aren't we
Today's
sad today?" 'Cause
yeah,
I think I still have a boner over what happened today, and it's,
yeah.
the prodigals. Yeah, let me see it right now. Boom, let me get the, let me get the wheelbarrow out, right? Uh,
Hell
it's a
yeah.
three-legged race. Anyway, the prodigal son has returned.
Yes.
And, this is something Mike and I talked about, whether it was going to happen or not. And this is finally the year. Justin Verlander is back
Let's
with the
go!
Detroit Tigers. Welcome
Let's
home,
go!
JV. And if I'm looking at our free agent predictions, guess where I predicted Justin Verlander to go?
Let me guess, Steve. Did you predict the right team?
I
The
did.
Detroit Tigers?
I predicted the Detroit Tigers. So,
So did I.
put that baby in green.
Oh, yeah, I'm doing now as we speak. Holy fuck, dude. I think that's like the 8th or 9th fucking one you got right. Good for you.
Definitely better than last year. I mean,
Yeah.
just the free agent gods are smiling down on me, but a smart move, I think, by Scott Harris and the Tigers front office, because if I
everybody's mad at
saw
us.
right, it's a 1-year, $13 million contract. I think he gets paid $2 million this year, and the other money's deferred. So they're taking a page out of the old Dodger book right here and
Love it.
deferring money. And it's, I think, a very smart idea. And I didn't notice it until I was listening to one of the sports talking heads here.
Mhm.
Usually, when there's free agent signing, you get your Buster Olneys, your Jeff Passons, and everything.
Right.
But did you see who actually Passon was right up there, but who broke it as well?
No.
The Detroit Tigers actually announced their free agent signing. Usually you wait, it's a couple of days later before it's like the Tigers welcome so and so. No, they posted it on their site that welcome home Justin Verlander.
Well,
So it's
hey.
very rare that you see a team post that they breaking their own free agent signing.
Hey, man. They needed to do something,
Yep.
right? I mean, people were kind of mad. The Framber Valdez was nice, right?
Yep.
Everybody's sitting there blowing Scott Harris. Wow, we're going to have the best rotation. Let's calm down. The guy's 32 years old.
Mhm.
Could be an overpay. You know what I mean? I like
Yep.
the Framber Valdez signing for sure, but let's calm down. But I think the Verlander one, I think just for nostalgia alone and,
Gonna put butts in the seats, man.
yeah, and I think Scott Harris, I think people were really feeling it, right? Because
Mhm.
why didn't you get him last year? You could have got him for nothing last year, in
Nothing.
the trade deadline,
Yep.
and even the year before that. And people were like, "What is he doing?" And I think this was one for the fans.
Yep.
I really do
I
think
think
Scott
so
Harris
too.
is one for the fans. Do we need Justin Verlander? No, but I think it's to have a
Could use
veteran
it.
of his caliber in the rotation,
And to work with the staff.
especially how
Yeah.
he finished last year with the Giants. I was
Yeah.
awesome,
Down
right?
the stretch,
So,
man. And they can
yeah.
pick and choose with the way they're building this rotation. This is fitting right into AJ Hinch's plan of, you don't need a 5-man rotation. They can go as high as 6 and just pick their spots where they want to use Verlander. They don't have to use him every 5th day. They can, pick and choose when they want him to go out and do what they need to get done, and
It
just
does a
having
big
that presence there in the in the rotation to help the younger arms like your Ty Maddens, your Reese Olsons, your Casey Mize to an extent, and just to have that, hell, even help Jack Flaherty, because he's had his ups and downs,
Yeah.
just to have that calming presence there in the bullpen. And I'm thinking, I feel like, talking to
Oh, naked?
Verlander, what's the sell of getting Verlander back? And I think he said his biggest regret was not winning a World Series for Mr. I. Well, he has a chance to right that wrong, and coming, becoming a part of the staff. I think they got a legit shot to make a run at this now. I think this is the Tigers putting their chips on the table, saying Scooble's last year, we're probably not going to keep him long term. Let's just go balls deep. We're going in.
I love how optimistic you are. I wish I could
I
be as
try.
optimistic. And it's hard,
I'm
I
drinking
mean,
that Kool-Aid, man, by the
you
gallon.
know, you know, that might be piss.
That might be. You know what? Very well might be.
I was very much more concerned with their hitting than their pitching last year.
Uh-huh.
So, their pitching wasn't great, but their hitting was atrocious down the stretch in the postseason. Even it was spotty. I still wish they would have got a bat, right?
Good
And
time. Got the trade deadline.
you do have the trade deadline, but there's not much left in the market unless you have an Andrew McCutchen and
Hey, we did sign somebody though. I forgot what his name was, but he's dog shit.
Slater. That
There
Slater
we
guy.
go. That's the guy. Yep, Austin Slater.
Yeah,
Buckle up, buddy.
Yeah. I'm not as pumped about that, but
No.
I will say JV reinvigorates the hope in Detroit. It's a storybook ending, even if we don't go to the World Series. I think it's a storybook ending for that for Verlander, right? I mean, he comes back and finishes what he started, and
Do his
he
farewell
is,
tour if this is in fact his last year. And have him, get his flowers, so to speak, at the end of the season. And
Steve, it's been tough for Detroit, right? Detroit sports in general. We haven't sniffed the fart of a playoff for the Red Wings in over a decade.
right.
We, as Pistons fans, we finally have a winning team, but it took us getting back to the bad boy Piston way in order to do it.
A hell of a
Sometimes
fight
going
lesson,
home,
by
like
the
in
way.
baseball, is
Yeah.
the best thing you can do. And going back to what made you you. And I feel like Verlander coming back is great. We lost Stafford, and that was our star for a long time. And then we lose JV, and it hurt even more that he goes and wins 2 Cy Youngs, 2 World Series. And you can never get him those World Series rings. So him coming back is a very Kenny Rogers kind of move, right? It's almost a full circle moment when Kenny Rogers, right? When Kenny Rogers was the young
Rogers mentored Verlander. Yep.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to lessen the blow when we lose Scooble. So,
it's not an if, it's for a win. It's a win.
It's when we're losing them either at the trade deadline or we're going to ride it out like the Angels tried to do there with Shohei. So
with Shohei, how'd that work out for him?
Yeah, dude. Yeah. So
oh boy,
it's good to be back. Like I said, I'm not jumping for joy just because I know we need a lot more, but our farm system's good. We have some good hitters coming up. Might see some of them this year. So
McGonigal.
McGonigal. Yep. Maybe Max Clark in the late season.
Yep. So,
but that's the future, right? Right now we're talking about the present, and we'll see. We'll see. So it's good to have them back. So Steve.
Yeah.
I'm very optimistic. I'm very optimistic indeed. So we're going to be doing some then and now in a minute. But before we do that, should we talk to our sponsor real quick?
Yeah. Let's take a little word here from the Penny Sleeper. Whether you're a casual collector or a seasoned card enthusiast, the Penny Sleeper is your one-stop shop for all your card protection needs. They carry everything from classic regular sleeves and versatile top loaders in multiple thicknesses, 35 point, 55 point, 75 point, 100 point, and beyond, to premium magnetic card holders and specially graded card sleeves perfect for PSA and SGC slabs. Need resealable bags, team bags, vintage sleeves, or colored top loaders? They have over 71 products in stock, all priced to help you build and protect your collection without breaking the bank.
And now they're offering an exclusive promotion just for you. First-time buyers can get 10% off their entire order with promo code LONGGONE. Just visit thepennysleeper.com and use that code at checkout. Don't let your valuable cards go unprotected. Shop the Penny Sleeper today and see why collectors trust them with their most prized possessions. The Penny Sleeper. Premium protection, penny pinching prices.
Penny Sleeper. Right?
I love Penny Sleeper, man.
I do too. I did my unboxing. Did you see it?
I did.
Yeah.
Dude, you did. Bring in more of that content. I think it's a good idea. I was talking, you and I were talking off camera. I think it'd be fun to, incorporate our sponsors here in these little kind of behind the scenes things like you did with your unboxing with the Penny Sleever and just all the great products that they have. And then, do like, pack breaks or something and incorporate, using their products into, ripping packs and stuff. Cause that's, seems to be a big thing. People like to see the pack ripping and just incorporating Penny Sleever and all their great, top loaders and their, the magnetic, sleeves and stuff and the bumpers and just all the great stuff that they have. And, and our other sponsor, the Mark Movers app, showing how to get those cards from your collection into the app there. I think that'd be a lot of fun and kind of give our listeners and viewers a behind the scenes look at other stuff that we enjoy doing. So
yeah, and I think with incorporating Penny Sleever like we were talking about, I mean, I think our fans listen to me like we're fucking somebody.
Our fans look at us. We're our roadies.
Nobody. I think as I see fan on my rundown, but I was like, oh wait, no. I think your viewers would actually really like if you kind of went. I think it'd be really cool if you went through some of your stuff in the future.
For sure.
Some of your collection, because I mean, those who have been longtime listeners, and followers of the podcast, Steve talks about his collection on and off, and I mean, he has some pretty impressive stuff, not just cards. I mean, we're talking memorabilia stuff that I don't really have. I mean, I have some memorabilia, but I'm more of a card guy. Or Stevie's kind of memorabilia and cards, but he has like memorabilia that actually means something that he wouldn't sell. I mean, we're talking
for sure.
From pennants, to cups to. I mean, God, he has old Coke bottles for Christ's sakes.
I do.
Yeah,
there's a story behind every bottle.
Yeah, man. So I think our listeners, our viewers, I think you'll see that probably in the future. Steve going over some of his stuff, maybe a story behind the collecting, and obviously just stuff like that. Stuff where I mean, Penny Sleever is huge with that as well, helping protect some of that as well. So that's always
just the amount of products that they have. And, it goes beyond cards that you can get from them, binders and various sizes for their sleeves and stuff. So they got it all. Sure to check them out. We got a link in our bios on almost all our socials to get to them. And using promo code Long Gone can get you 10% off of your first order there. So check them out. They do great service. Very, very that local kind of personal feel for their for the way that they put their product out and the way they box it and ship it to you. It's really nice.
Yeah, I mean, you like that family-owned businesses. This is a family business. These are the guys that write you personal notes.
Yep.
Check them out indeed. And with that, Steve, we are moving over to Then and Now.
It's time. I got lit up
on Reddit for my second base picks last week, which is hilarious. This week, we're moving over to third baseman, top third baseman of the 1990s. Well, overall, Steve, I don't think it was a golden era for third baseman, but I think it was.
I don't know.
I think, I think where the 80s were more glove third baseman, right? I think you've seen
more offense in the 90s.
More like Schmidt type hitters, kind of bleed into the 90s a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure.
Steve, kick us off with your number 5 best third baseman of the 1990s.
Well, at number 5, I wouldn't pick this guy in a fight. I'll say that because he got his ass kicked by Nolan Ryan that one time. But I'm going to go with Robin Ventura comes in for me at number 5. Really kicked his career off in '89 with the White Sox. Spent majority of the 90s there with the White Sox before he moved on to the Mets after that. But Mike was talking about while the 80s had more finesse with the glove. Robin Ventura did have, quite the glove as well. Four gold gloves or 5 gold gloves here in the in the 90s there. Actually might have had 6. Yeah, the guy really good, but he was also good offensively too. As a guy who can hit you 20 plus home runs, even stretch into 30. Best season there in 96 where he had 287 average, 34 home runs, 105 RBIs. He wasn't going to steal you bases, but he was going to be a really good defensive third baseman, but also give you the offense as well. 150, 160 plus hits in a season, had the pop in his bat, could get you the doubles as well. It wasn't necessarily, didn't necessarily up the speed, so he wasn't giving you the triples or the stolen bases, but could get you the hits, doubles, home runs, and also play a good fielding third baseman. So Robin Ventura, not the best with the fist, but he comes in for me at number 5 for third baseman of the 90s.
Yeah, not the best fist, not the best manager. Just
oh god, I forgot about that. Yeah,
most people have.
Yeah.
Speaking of gloves, more glovesy kind of third baseman. Well, this guy was not gonna hit him out of the park consistently, right? I think in '87 he had 24 home runs, which is wild. I mean, he just went a little nuts that year, but then he went down to reality and got 5 the next year. But he was a very good glove at third base, a very good hitter that got him over 3,000 hits in his career, and that is Wade Boggs.
Wade Boggs, yeah.
It's kind of like Ryan Sandberg was last week, right? I didn't put him in my top 5 because I thought his 80s were better than his 90s, and you could kind of say the same for Wade Boggs. His 80s were actually really, really good, but his 90s weren't bad either. I mean, a lot of people remember him in the 90s as being a consistent third baseman.
Yeah.
Right. But they remember him with 2 teams in the 90s. Well, I guess you could say 3. He played for 3 in the
with
90s.
Those Devil Rays, right?
I think he's retired as a Devil Ray, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's one of those first retired numbers or retired players. But he played for Boston in that, through the 80s. And then, I mean, he was always known as being a Boston guy well into his 30s. And then he ended up going to New York at the beginning, like 93 for the Yankees. And then he was there for like 4 or 5 years. And then he went over to the Devil Rays to round out his career at 41 years old. But in the 90s, Wade Boggs was an immaculate hitter. He had 1,413 hits, 491 RBIs, that compiled with 406 strikeouts. Now, that's actually pretty miraculous, saying that like some of your best hitters today are striking out over 150 times, 120 times a year. Well, Wade Boggs, if you even took a little bit of that, that means he was striking out 100 times every few years. So,
Jeez.
I mean, this is, I mean, he was just the model of consistency throughout his entire career. He was very much hit first. I mean, he was definitely a glove guy, but his hit ability, he could hit for, he was like a 3-tool player in those regards. And I mean, that led him to a 304 average in the 90s and an OPS of 794 with an OPB of 387. Just a very, very good hitter. Well-deserved in the Hall of Fame. Wade Boggs is my number 5 third baseman.
Killer mustache, too, by the way.
Fucking yeah, dude.
Talking about mustaches. Boggs, he's right up there with that. Number 4 for me, this guy that could have been a little bit higher on my list, but he had a good stretch run for a bit there in the 90s, but, it was kind of up and down, pillaring the decade. That's Vinny Castilla, and I could have put him higher on the list, but the only reason I didn't is because he played for Colorado for a good bulk of those 90s, and numbers could have been a little bit inflated because of that Coors Field home field advantage. This is a guy who Mike talked about Wade Boggs and him not striking out much. This is a guy in Castilla. He didn't strike out much either. And 98, he played in 162 games. He only struck out 89 times. So he's going to work the count. 319 average that year. Get you some walks too. But he had that pop in his bat. Was it Coors Field? Could have possibly been Coors Field. Yeah. This guy who had 40, hit over 40 home runs here for 3 straight years from 96 to 98, and topped out in that 98 season where surprisingly he finished 11th in MVP voting, where he had 46 home runs and 144 RBIs. Do that in modern day baseball, you just give him the MVP right now, right? But in 98 he finished 11th that year. But great pop in the bat, really good average that he could hit for. multiple-time Silver Slugger Award winner. Got into a couple All-Star games there in the 90s. Slugging percentage, over 500 a lot of the time. OPS approaching 1,000. 951 in 98. 911 there in 95. But yeah, really, really good offensive player there for a stretch there in the 90s. So Vinny Castilla comes in for me at number 4.
Absolutely. I went with a guy that's a little controversial, very much a Josh Hamilton of his era, and that is Ken Caminiti.
Solid, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the muscle-bound Ken Caminiti, obviously a big steroid user. He was a guy that was...
No way.
Yeah. It was in the Mitchell report, and it's kind of sad, right? I mean, it ultimately led to his death. Struggled with substance abuse his whole life, for his whole life, and crack cocaine. I mean, he just a lot alcoholism. I mean, he had a lot of demons for sure. He ended up dying of a heart attack due to combined effects of cocaine and opioids. And but let's not take away what Ken Caminiti meant to baseball. I mean, just for his era, just a really good player in the 90s, even though he juiced, which it's just kind of a Chris Davis / Josh Hamilton-esque kind of player. But in the 90s, he compiled in 1,329 games, he compiled 1,352 hits, 195 home runs, 795 RBIs, struck out 886 times, which wasn't great. 279 average wasn't bad, right? I mean, this led to MVP. He led to an MVP season with the San Diego Padres back in 1996, which was a very good Padres team with Tony Gwynn and Caminiti. I mean, he's a Houston great. Went to the Padres. They loved him. He came back to Houston and then rounded out his career with Texas and Atlanta. And, I mean, just a muscle-bound dude. But, I mean, back in the 90s when people were juicing, he was one of those ones that was a thrill to watch because he was just slugging him over the fence. Pretty good glove at third base for sure.
Yep.
Wasn't like this. I mean, he was a muscle-bound guy, but he was only 6 foot. It's not like he was this big 6'5" monstrosity. I mean, he was more built like kind of like a Jeff Bagwell, a little bit smaller maybe. Ken Caminiti comes in for me at number 4.
Well, I have him a pinch higher, and that's only because he did get that MVP and 3 Gold Glove awards there in the 90s. So Ken Caminiti comes in for me at number 3, just for the reasons that Mike talked about. Muscle-bound guy, could hit the ball, really good average. That MVP season, he hit 326, hit over 300 a handful of times in his career. Just a real solid batting average. Could similar to Ventura, he could get the doubles and he could also get you the home runs. This guy hit over 30 plus doubles in a season a few times here in the 90s, as well as getting the the home runs and could do it with the glove too. So just a great great solid solid player in the 90s. Just a pinch higher for me just because of the glove and the MVP. So Ken Caminiti, he comes in at number 3.
Number 3 for me, I went with a guy that a lot of people loved. I mean, they loved him in the clubhouse. They loved him when he became a manager down the road. But that's Matt Williams. Matt Williams is kind of lost in baseball history, right? I think I always compare who is a Matt Williams in baseball, and I really do think it's somebody like Matt Chapman. I mean, very much kind of the same game. I mean, definitely a power hitter, a lot of big time RBIs. I mean, Matt Williams in the 90s was just mashing the fucking ball, right? And his big thing, he had in the 93 to 90, I'd say 96, it was a lot of some injuries and things that held him back, but that didn't stop him from having great. I mean, got in 94, had an MVP type season, got second in MVP voting, hit 43 home runs that year, 96 ribs. But 1990 with the Giants, 122 ribs off 33 home runs, 807 OPS. I think the year after, the 95 season, which he became an all-star, his OPS was off the fucking charts at 1.04 OPS. I mean, the guy was such a good player. The problem is, he'll probably never be a Hall of Famer, and that's mostly just because his stuff came in spurts and injuries and things like that kind of derailed his career. But I mean, he was a masterful 5-time All-Star, 4-time Gold Glove, won a Manager of the Year award. Just a really good shepherd of the game, right? And Matt Williams will always be that. And I watched him at third base. He was a level of consistency there with the Giants and from the teams after that. So Matt Williams for me comes in at number 3.
Well, he's so good for me. He comes in at number 2.
Yeah.
You know, obviously in the 2000s, there was part of that Diamondbacks World Series winning team. But in the 90s, yeah, like you said, very, very solid player. Led the league in RBIs in 1990 with 122. You know, eclipsed 100 a few times there in the 90s. Obviously, he was a home run mashing machine. 94 had 43 home runs and limited, strike shortened season where he finished runner-up for the MVP, but could also do it with the gloves. So multiple All-Star appearances, you know, always top 10 there for a stretch in the 90s for MVP voting. So, yeah, great player all around and a great manager, too. So, yeah, Matt Williams, he comes in for me at number 2.
I'm going to choose a guy that Steve had at number 4 just because I thought, you know, Colorado needs some love here, and that's Vinny Castilla. Vinny Castilla, quiet guy, right? You didn't hear a lot about him in terms, off the field. Fans loved him. Teammates loved him. He was a model of consistency back in the 90s for sure. And then he kind of a little bumpy in the early 2000s and beyond, where his career ended when he went back into Colorado after 16 years. So, yeah, Vinny Castilla, man, great hitter for sure. Had the ability to hit 300, and then he kind of sold out for a little bit more power. He had 40 home run power. I thought he was always had 50 home run potential, but he never quite got there. Back in the 90s with Atlanta and Colorado, had 166 doubles, over 1,000 hits, 611 ribs, which compiled into a 298 average, 870 OPS, 528 slugging. Just a very good all-around player with that Colorado team. And when Colorado became a franchise, he became one of their instant stars, him and Larry Walker. And this is a little bit before Todd Helton. Todd Helton didn't come too long after that, but Vinny Castilla was holding down the fort, So Vinny Castilla, for me, comes in at number 2.
I think we both agree on number 1. I mean, when it comes to 90s third baseman, it's Jim Thome, right? I'm just kidding. Old thumbhead almost actually made my list because if you remember, he started in Cleveland as a third baseman, but then moved over DH and first base, kind of in the mid-90s. So a little too much of a small sample size. But Chipper Jones comes in for me at number 1. I believe he does for you as well. Hit the ground running on that 95 World Championship Braves team, runner-up for Rookie of the Year that year. Multiple All-Star games, MVP in 1999, top 10 in MVP voting for the most part there in his stretch there in the 90s, but just a fantastic player and just a staple in that Braves lineup at third base for years to come. Great average, slugging percentage up there, OPS over 1,000, in 1999. Just a great hitter, could mash the ball, could steal, could get you, the doubles, all that, could get you close to 200 hits a season. So Chipper Jones, he comes in for me at number 1.
Yep. So number 1 for me too, just a no-brainer. Junior Caminero reminds me a lot of him. Just kind of, a model of consistency. But I think Chipper Jones might be a better hitter, to get out like an overall hit for average type of player. I mean, very model consistency led to a 303 batting average. I mean, he could hit for power, he can hit for average, and he was really good at third base too. You think of the best third baseman of all time. I mean, he might be up there. I mean, I know he maybe didn't have like a glove like a Wade Boggs, right? But I mean, at the same time, he wasn't a liability at third base. Maybe a little bit later in his career when they moved him over to left field, but I thought he held down the fort pretty good, hot the corner pretty good early on. So Chipper Jones for me, number 1.
Well, we agree on that, right? Let's move from the then to the now as we take a look at the third baseman that we have going on right now. A really good class of third baseman. I'll lead things off with one of the newest Chicago Cubs, and that's Alex Bregman. He's still hanging around there. He keeps switching teams a lot here the last few years, but Still, when healthy, one of the best players in the game, and he had a solid year for Boston last year. Injuries did, take a toll with 114 games played, but he still made the All-Star team, still hit 273, 18 home runs, 62 RBIs. This is a guy, though, when healthy, is good in the field, can get you a Gold Glove when need be, but also can hit you 25, 20 plus, close to 30 home runs a season and hit for a decent average, 260, 270, but still, he's getting a little bit older, but, signed that nice contract with the Cubs. We'll see if he can stay healthy and keep this train going. But Alex Bregman, he comes in for me at number 5.
Yeah, Bregman always has been a great player. I went for number 5. Listen, I had to put him here. I was really going back and forth on putting him, but I still think he's a quality third baseman. Analytics show that he's actually declining, which is crazy, but I think that's mostly due to injury because he just can't stay healthy. That's Austin Riley for the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah.
This is a make or break season, in my opinion, for Austin Riley. I really do believe that. I feel like if he doesn't rise to the occasion, if he's injured again, the last 2 seasons, right? I mean, he hasn't been the healthiest. I mean, he's played over 100 games, but they didn't sign him to play over 100 games. They signed him to play 140 to 160 games a season, and he hasn't met that in the last few years. So, Austin Riley's a very good hitter. I mean, he came out belting the ball, hitting for power, hitting for average, all over the place in MVP considerations his first 4 years. I mean, so far he has 151 home runs in the 2020s, not too fucking shabby. So I think it's a make or break year for him, and I still believe in him. And for that, he is my number 5 pick.
I like it. Number 4, probably going to shock a lot of people, but he's still doing very well, and that's I'm heading to San Francisco. I'm going to go with Matt Chapman. He comes in for me at the number 4 spot. Coming off a very solid season. Average wise, not really a fan of his average, but still, a WAR over 4. Average did dip to 231, but the pop's still there in the bat. With the 21 home runs, 61 runs batted in, 128 games played. So injuries kind of hit him a bit, but guy for the most part the last few years, in Oakland and then into his time in Toronto, a very durable player. Is very durable with the Giants in 2024, where he appeared in 154 games and had 247 average. Just hopefully he can bounce back and get healthy again, because when healthy, he's got the pop. He can get you extra base power. He can get you a whole bunch of hits, but he can also do it with his glove too. It's a guy who's a 5-time Gold Glove award winner, so he can do it with the offense and do it with the defense. So let's just hope he can stay healthy this year. So Matt Chapman, he comes in for me at number 4.
Number 4 for me, it's who Steve had number 5, Alex Bregman. I mean, he's still a quality third baseman. He ain't old. I mean, he's like 31, going on 32, or I think he's 32. Signed with Chicago. Surprised Boston just didn't want to keep him around because he was one of their better players last year. So that was really surprising. I mean, Boston fans are pretty pissed, but I think Boston wanted to go younger, so I can't blame him for that. But it was definitely an interesting move nonetheless, especially when you offered him the contract you did the year before. So Alex Bregman, what to say about him? I mean, good glove, good hitter.
Yep.
I think there's a lot of, I think sometimes it's hard to explain because I don't think he's a guy that strikes out a lot in terms of he ain't going to get you over 100 strikeouts a year, which is nice, right? I think he does show the ability to have some restraint at the plate. I've noticed that a lot throughout his career. But my big thing, like last year, right? I mean, is he gonna stay healthy? I always get scared because remember in 2020, 2021, I mean, there was you're kind of like, okay, I mean, 2020 and 2021, okay, the shortened season in 2020, okay, is there going to be a little bit injury prone? But then he comes back, and the next 3 years after that, model consistency. I think he got injured last year, and it was like, oh, that's why I was scared for any team to pay him, knowing that he's in this make or break point in a career when you're in your early 30s, right? I mean, we've seen really good players in their early 30s just drop off. And you wonder, okay, is Bregman going to be that? But I mean, he did pretty good last year in 114 games that he played, and I still think he has a lot left in the tank as well. And he's not a casualty at third, right? So if you're defensive,
not at all.
I think it's great. So Alex Bregman for me, Steve, comes in at number 4.
Coming in for me at number 3, I'm gonna go with I feel like I'm, doing like an announcer. Coming in at number 3, I'm gonna go with a guy who I feel like is a lot older than he actually is. He's gonna be 30. He's 33, gonna be gonna be 34. But he's just been around for so long. I mean, he broke into the league at age 19, and it's Manny Machado. He's just a guy who you want to talk about a model of consistency. These years in San Diego, he's been healthy, playing 150 plus games for most of the years, and being consistent with the average. He's a guy who back-to-back seasons hit 275, back-to-back seasons had close to 30 home runs, 27 home runs this year, 29 home runs last year. Can get you 90 plus, close to 100 RBIs. And can do it with the glove too. 2-time Gold Glove Award winner. I think obviously I think he's going to be a Hall of Famer when the time counts. But he's been that face of this San Diego franchise. Him and Tatis to an extent. But just great offensive player, and can do it with the glove too, and can do it with the leadership. So Manny Machado comes in for me at number 3.
Same, Manny Machado. I mean, you and I are the same here and out, but Manny Machado, same reasons you did. Future Hall of Famer. Sit back and enjoy some great baseball. I would definitely put him number 1 or number 2, but numbers suggest. I mean, at first I did have him at number 1, but numbers are showing that he is declining a little bit. But it's not because I mean, I would still, out of this whole list, Steve, if the game was on the line and I needed somebody to come through for me, out of all these players on my list, I would choose him, even over my number 1. Because I just think he has that next level to his game. He's the guy that creates moments. He's the guy that can win you World Series. So Manny Machado for me, number 3.
Number 2 for me, I'm going to go with, we have a small sample size, but the future's bright for this guy, and it's Junior Caminero for Tampa Bay. This is a guy who I'd like to see his strikeouts come down. I mean, he was top 10 in MVP voting last year. Had 159 hits in 154 games. Like I said, average would like to see improve. It's at 264, but 45 home runs, 110 RBIs. I think this is the trajectory is going to continue to go up. If you're a market movers guy, I'd say start buying on this guy if you haven't already, because he's going to continue just to trend up. He's just that good of a player, and Tampa Bay seem to just keep hitting it when it comes to drafting and developing players. So I love what he's doing. I think he's going to continue to do it. He did lead the league in double plays last year, grounding into 31 of them. Work on that a little bit, and work on the strikeouts, but the power's there, extra base power and home run power is there. So Junior Caminero, he comes in for me at number 2.
Oh yeah, number 2 for me too is Junior Caminero, just for the trajectory that he's on. Yeah, I'm like with Steve. I don't love the high strikeouts, and his trajectory is showing that he's going to keep on probably striking out a little bit more. Don't love it. I hope he kind of tunes it down, right? Coming into his next season here. And I mean, we're coming on season 4. He's going to be 21. He's 22. He's going to be 22 years old. I mean, this is a guy that, he's young. So he's a lot of swing and miss right now, but he'll turn it around for sure. So Junior Caminero, number 2.
And then number 1 for me is a guy who just got paid again. I think he just recently got a contract extension, and he's just the quiet leader in Cleveland, a guy that I don't think necessarily gets talked about enough, and that's Jose Ramirez. I think this guy eventually is going to win an MVP. I mean, he's finished top 3 multiple times in his career, and just keeps getting better. It seems like with age. Average came up from 2024 to this past season. He went from 279 up to 283, and just the model of consistency. This guy's going to play almost every day and be in the lineup whenever you want to put him in there. He just stays away from injury. I mean, it's a guy who led the league in intentional walks in 2022 and 2023. It's going to hit you 30 plus home run power, getting close to 40, 100 plus RBIs. I mean, 30 home runs, 85 RBIs this past season. Could have got a lot more RBIs, but Cleveland wasn't the best offensively. It was essentially Jose Ramirez and everybody else. Love his offense, just love his quiet leadership, on and off the field, and definitely just a face of that Guardians franchise for the last decade or so. So Jose Ramirez comes in for me at number 1.
Same with me, man. It's hard to take J-Ram out. I had him at number 2, and I was like, no, man, he's a clear number 1. The reason why he can beat you in so many different ways. You can hit for power, you can hit for average. He can beat you on the base paths. He's fast. Not a lot of people talk about his speed on the bases, right?
Yeah.
And, even at third base, he's just he could play second. He could play third. He could probably play short if you let him. But at third base, he's just
Right.
It's that he's that dude. I'm surprised he hasn't won a Gold Glove. People say, well, he's not the best third baseman ever. I was like, yeah, but I think he's better than a lot of third basemen I've seen defensively. Sure. 7-time All-Star, 6-time Silver Slugger. How he hasn't won an MVP yet? You play in a league with Aaron Judge is doing what Aaron Judge does.
That's it.
Really hard to beat a guy like that.
Yep.
Before that, there was Mike Trout, and it was like, oh man, Jose J-Ram can't catch a fucking break. But one thing I love about him, and this isn't why he's number 1, but one thing I love about him, he was offered, he could have went elsewhere and got a bit more money, and he said no. He goes, it's not about money for me. Not everything's about money. I don't know. I think that's so cool. To him, it was more about staying with the team that took him, that he started with. I thought that was so cool, and it shows you sometimes, he has enough money. I think he just looks at it, no, man, this is about legacy. He's going to be 33 years old. He's going on 14 years here, and he's a future Hall of Famer. It's looking like it. So, yeah, J-Ram for me, man, it hasn't slowing down yet, and he's my number 1. Yeah.
Well, that wraps up another position here. We will move on to, what are we doing, shortstops?
Shortstops. Yeah, we're going down like the batting order. So, the shortstops are next.
Shortstops for next.
Golden age of shortstops in the 90s. I would say definitely golden age for sure. But
so we'll do that next week.
That'll be next week. Earlier Steve and I were talking about Negro League Baseball, a couple Negro Leaguers that passed on, and we have something special for you guys this week. This week we were able to sit down with museum president, guy who Steve and I love talking to. We hope he comes back.
So fun.
Yeah, Mr. Bob Kendrick, president of the Negro League Baseball Museum. He is the reason. There's a lot of others, Buck O'Neill and them, who helped start it. But this man is just a pure storyteller. You want to talk about a showman, a pitchman? This guy wears so many hats, which you're going to hear about us talking about, and just enthralled with Mr. Bob Kendrick. Wears so many hats, an immaculate storyteller. He's a businessman. He can get things done. And what he has planned for the museum from here on out, we talk about his future, who's Bob Kendrick. We talk about how the museum started. We talk about the stars league of the Negro Leagues back then. And he, from Satchel Paige, Josh Gibson, even little ones, some ones you don't know. So it was fun, right? It was a fun.
So much. I could have talked to him all day. Charismatic, great, very nice person, easy to talk to, you feel like you've known him for years, just talking to him for 5 minutes. He's so cool.
He feels like he's like a family member, right? He's just the way he's so easy to talk to, and he's such a nice guy. And everybody enjoy Bob Kendrick. This year, before they put Aaron Judge on the cover of MLB The Show in the World Baseball Classic uniform, I was like, man, they should put I always thought it'd be cool to have a Negro League star on there. Have
Satchel Paige. Yeah.
Even Jackie or so. Well, Jackie, I guess, has been on MLB The Show, but throw on Josh Gibson or somebody else on MLB The Show. Now would have been a great time since they weren't going to have a cover athlete. But
I agree.
But guys, ladies, everybody, enjoy Mr. Bob Kendrick. With us today is a very special guest, the president of the Negro League Museum, Mr. Bob Kendrick. Bob, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, guys, it's my absolute pleasure. Thank y'all for having me on the show.
And,
sure.
how I was first introduced to you wasn't that long ago. It was an MLB The Show. And I tell you what, when I bought MLB The Show, obviously you buy it to play, the baseball, everything else. I was enthralled by the history that MLB The Show decided to put with Negro League Baseball, and you being kind of, for maybe lack of a better term, an ambassador of that.
Yeah.
It was just mesmerized by the way they did that with you. I don't, and we'll get right into that, Bob. We have a bunch of stuff to ask you. We're super excited about this, but I kind of want to go into you. We want to know a little bit more about you. What was kind of your start before you became the president and everything else? What was your background before you got to this point?
Before I started, and I actually started volunteering for the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. It's hard to believe now, way back in 1993.
Oh, wow.
So nearly 33 years ago, I started as a volunteer here. I had no idea, fellas, that it was going to turn into a career. And to be honest, one of the most gratifying things I could have done either personally or professionally. I kind of stumbled into what would ultimately become my passion. And so while I was working at the Kansas City Star, the daily newspaper, I drew the assignment of promoting the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum's first ever traveling exhibition, an exhibition called Discover Greatness. It debuted in the storefront space here at historic 18th and Vine. And I said to myself, well, I better go find this Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, do a little bit of research, background work, so I could put the promotional campaign together. To be honest, fellas, I didn't even know there was a Negro Leagues Baseball Museum at that time, and it was literally just a stone's throw away from where the Kansas City Star operated. So I drive down to historic 18th and Vine, pull up in front of the Lincoln Building, which was the only functioning building really here in the historic 18th and Vine Jazz District at that time. And I go up to a third floor office. And the minute I walked into that office, I walked into what will become my passion. I walked into this fledgling Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. It has some photographs on the wall, a few boxes of memorabilia, and that was the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. And I literally did walk right into what will become my passion. Fell in love with the story. I fell in love with the amazing athletes who made this story. And as a baseball fan, I quickly realized how little I knew about the history of this game and its connections to the history of this country. And I guess you could say I just became engrossed in it. I wanted to learn as much as I could. And guys, I didn't want to keep it to myself. I wanted everyone else to feel the same way that I felt about it. And as I started to meet more of those players, and particularly one player, the late, great Buck O'Neil,
Buck O'Neil.
and I was no different than everybody else who had their first encounter with Buck. It was love at first sight. Yeah, as I tell people all the time, man, once you're bitten by the Buck bug, it's a wrap. There's no antidote for it. And so I just wanted to be on Buck's team. I wanted to do whatever I could to help him preserve and celebrate and build this museum. And I remember quite vividly when I first met him, one of the first questions that I posed to him was, what motivated you to want to build a Negro Leagues Baseball Museum? And his answer was succinct, but also very poignant, so that we would be remembered. He did not want them to be forgotten, not for just what they gave the game of baseball, but more importantly, what they gave this country. And so at that point in time, man, I was, I'm down. I wanted to do what I could. I didn't know it was going to turn into a career. And one of the most gratifying things I could have ever done, either personally or professionally, it has afforded me opportunities that I never dreamt, particularly being a kid from Crawfordville, Georgia, a little town east of Atlanta, west of Augusta, all of 500 people. And so the experiences that I have gained being a part of something that is bigger than you are just has been so amazing. And I've been so blessed to do this work.
Oh, sure. Just going back to your time at the Kansas City Star, your background in advertising and marketing, how did that prepare you for the challenges of running a historic institution like the Negro League?
Because I didn't know a doggone thing about running a museum.
That about sums it up right there.
It's so funny, Steve. People say, "Oh, he's a tremendous historian," and I'm like, "Man, my history teacher would roll over in his grave if somebody calling me a historian." I didn't really care about history when I was in high school. But it was something about the connection to this story,
Mhm.
and particularly as a baseball fan, that all of a sudden opened up this exploration of history in a different purview.
Yeah.
And so it just captivated me. And you know what? It still captivates me. I've been involved with this museum now for 33 years, and I find the history just as fascinating today as
Mm.
I did when I walked into that little one-room office. I'm still learning. There's still a constant quest to learn as much about this as you possibly can. Because you got to remember, when we talk about the Negro Leagues, we're talking about a 40-year plus history. When we talk about the history of black baseball,
Mhm.
we're talking about a history that goes back to the 1800s.
Mhm.
So, you're constantly learning these nuggets, and you want to explore them deeper. And you want people to understand the full breadth and depth and scope and magnitude that this history represented both on and off the field. And so
Yeah.
I have just enjoyed this immensely. Obviously, it's very challenging work.
Mhm.
uh, I don't know if there's anything that could prepare you to do this, but
Right.
having that marketing background,
Yeah.
you were accustomed to selling,
Mhm.
uh-huh, and you utilize those tools because I knew that most people were not unlike me. They knew very little, if anything, about the history of the Negro Leagues. And so most of us who are baseball fans, you've likely heard the name Satchel Paige,
Yeah.
Josh Gibson, Cool Papa Bell, because those are mainstream names. Those are
Right.
transcending names. Most baseball fans have likely heard those names. Now, they may not know just how great those guys were, but you likely heard those names.
Mhm.
And so that marketing background served me quite well as we were building a museum and selling the impact and importance of what this museum was all about. Because you have to remember the people that we were going to seeking funding, they didn't know anything about the Negro Leagues either.
Right.
Yeah.
So we had to help them understand why this story was so meaningful in order to convince them to support this project financially. And so having that advertising marketing background, I think really did aid me. And then I hope that I've now grown into this whole museum world. I'll be the first to admit, I don't look at museums probably the way that other people look at
Right.
museums. And I still think that serves me well too. That
Mhm.
is why you've seen projects like MLB The Show and
Mm.
some of the other things that we've done to try and step outside of what museums typically do. And I think that is really important to me, is to try and continually find ways to be relevant. How do you make a story that hadn't existed in over 6 decades?
Mm.
How do you make it relevant for an ever-changing generation of kids?
Yeah.
And so one of the ways was to put them in a video game, and so you're constantly challenging yourself to step outside of what museums typically do. Because if you don't, and I think that's important for any museum, but particularly a history museum, and even more so a cultural museum like the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, is that if you don't, man, you're going to fall by the way of the dinosaur.
Yes.
Mhm.
And so we needed to connect the dots, and I needed to go reach those young people where they were. You can't always wait for them to come to you.
Yep. Yep.
I needed to go to where they were. And we're constantly challenging ourselves, looking at initiatives and innovative ways that we can spark the interest of the next generation of museum goers.
Yeah, I
Definitely.
mean, I think Cooperstown could learn a thing or 2 from what you guys
Mhm.
are doing just because I mean, like you said, you gotta reach I mean, especially as the years go by, you gotta reach new kids, you gotta reach the kids, and that grows with them, the game grows with the kids, and
Yes.
Yep.
some of the most compelling documentaries I've seen in the last 20 years have been about the Negro Leagues.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and one thing with baseball and, Steve and I were big fans of not just the game, but the Hall of Fame and things, but
Yep.
it's kind of the same message. It's kind of the same cookie cutter-esque things. But I think in just taking from our love for MLB The Show, when we saw that on there, I mean, that was
So
to
fun.
us, it was like was incredible. I was like, this was a new way to
So,
show the next generation and the people who know of the Negro Leagues kind of what it's about. And and there was guys I didn't even know about, John Donaldson,
Yeah.
some of those, and
Yeah.
I didn't know. And I got to give it to you, Bob, too. You, you kind of remind me of Buck O'Neil in terms of the way you tell stories with such excitement. I mean, you got me excited about it, and you know, it's one of those things because when I first understood, because I was a kid when Ken Burns' documentary came out.
Exactly.
That was the first time in the 90s when I learned about the Negro Leagues, and
Yes.
I'm like, who is this Buck O'Neil character? And I got a chance to talk to Ken Burns later on down in life, and he had such respect for Buck O'Neil, and Buck was kind of the ambassador then. And I feel like the torch has been passed. Now you're doing that, and you have such a great storytelling. I mean, just the way you tell stories. Was that something that you just had to work on, or was that
Well,
something that
it really was because I don't really know where it came from. I was around those great storytellers, to sit down with Buck O'Neil and to sit down with the late great Monty Irvin, and they would tell these stories. And not only was I listening to what these stories were about, I'm also listening to how these stories were delivered. And the beautiful thing about Buck, he could have told a story 40,000 times.
Yeah.
But if he was going to tell it to you for the first time, he was going to tell it to you like it was the first time he ever told that story. He wasn't going to cheat you. And I try to incorporate that when I'm sharing these stories, particularly when I'm taking people around the museum. I want them to feel it. I want them to be able to see in their minds the showdown between Satchel and Josh, to build that drama. And I think for anyone who now kind of fashions themselves as a storyteller, and I guess I've gotten that label, there's no greater compliment than when someone says, I felt like I was there.
Yeah.
I felt like I was there. And, I don't know where it came from, but, I just had the blessing to be around Buck for so long. I traveled with him all over the country. And when I tell these stories, I feel like I'm keeping him and the other players from the Negro Leagues alive in my mind and in my heart. And whoever subsequently comes after I do, after I pass the baton down to somebody else, I hope they keep these stories alive. I don't ever want these stories to die. Now, I don't know if I could say I've always been this good storyteller. Now, I told a lot of stories, but they were usually trying to get me out of trouble with my mama. Now, other people would call them a lot.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh boy.
But, that video game and telling stories, and I'll tell you, if there's anything that's been so pleasantly surprising to me, is how the young people have really responded to the stories in the video game. I knew they would love these players once they got to know these players. And I applaud my friends over at San Diego Studios because they were so smart in how they put this game together. Because they could have just thrown the players in with random stats with no context, behind them. And they smartly did not do that. This whole idea of storylines was absolutely brilliant. And the young people have really gravitated to the stories. I mean, what's not to love about the swagger of Satchel Paige, or the speed of Old Papa Bell, or the mythical like power of Josh Gibson? But the power was very real. But they've fallen in love with these stories. I get messages from them all the time. They want to know, are there more players? Are there more stories coming? And I had to stop and think about this. The thing that I find so interesting with this current generation of young people, the thing that they seem to really embrace, authenticity and storytelling. They want the truth. Yeah, they want the truth. And they've fallen in love with storytelling, which I think is why podcasting has become so popular. Our young people don't necessarily like to read anything long form, but they'll sit down and listen to an engaging podcast all day long. And when Sony and San Diego Studios put the concept together for this video game, and when they first reached out to me, it was because they had been listening to my podcast, Black Diamonds,
Yes.
that I do with my friends over at Sirius XM Radio. And they reached out to me and my good friend Ramon Russell and others there at San Diego Studios. They called and said, we're thinking about putting the Negro Leagues into MLB The Show. Because, fellas, they wanted to manage my expectations. You know, they're trying to temper me and make sure, like, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but we're thinking about this. And folks had always reached out to me hoping that one day the Negro Leagues would be in a video game. And a lot of people reach out. Do you ever think that will happen? And I always, in the back of my mind, hoped it would, but I wasn't sure if it would ever gain that kind of mainstream voice. And the more conversations that we had as we were meeting, and the more stories that I told, the more interested they became in this concept of including the Negro Leagues in the video game. And so the game that actually came out in 2023, the first iteration of the game, was supposed to come out in 2024. But they were so enamored with the content that they moved it up a year.
Oh, wow.
And we have a 5-year partnership with Sony. The new game that will come out in March, early April, will be the 4th year of that 5-year partnership. We've got some great additions to the game, some great stories that are coming along behind these legendary players. We have one more year after this year, and I hope that we can extend that contract because, trust me, there are still a lot of great players and some engaging stories that are out there if we are afforded the opportunity to continue the relationship with our friends over at San Diego Studios. But it's by far, guys, been one of the biggest things this museum has ever done. And to be honest, I think I was a little bit naive because I don't know if I really understood just how big the gaming platform is.
Yeah.
It is so huge. And so we're talking about millions upon millions of young people and young adults who now are not only learning about the Negro Leagues, but they're falling in love with the Negro Leagues. And I get every day, I get kids coming into this museum because they saw the museum in the video game and they want to meet the guy that's telling the stories in the video game. I could be inside the exhibition and I'm giving a tour and the kids will grab their parents and say, that's him, I heard his voice. And they want to come over and they're so excited. And fellas, they want to show me how Satchel Paige did his double pump wind up. They want to show me the high leg kick like Satchel, and they're going to their practices and they want to throw the b-ball like Satchel threw the b-ball. And last baseball season, the Cardinals were in town and Victor Scott and Jordan Walker came over to see me to tour the museum. And the first thing they asked me, tell me about this dude, John Donaldson, because apparently nobody can touch John Donaldson in the video game. Well, John Donaldson was a nasty left-hander, in the early era of black baseball from mid-Missouri, Glasgow, Missouri. As a matter of fact, he is the inventor of what we now call the slider. And Donaldson was masterful. And apparently he throws this slider at 95, 96, and can't nobody touch him.
No. I'm having fun here. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the educational signature programs that you have at the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, specifically the Hall of Game program. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what was the inspiration behind it and how it's evolved since it was first brought out?
Well, it was an idea I had several years ago that it would be fun to honor former major league greats who we believe played the game the way they played it in the Negro Leagues. And so you played it with passion, you played it with high skill, but you also played it, as the kids would say, with a little swag. You had to have that if you were going to play in the Negro Leagues. And I think by honoring those former major league greats, we remind people of how great those players were in the Negro Leagues. Because you could hear Dave Winfield recall vividly sitting down with Negro League players and they looking at him and say, you know what, son? You were good enough. You could have played with us. You
Oh,
know, and
that's
he
high
still
praise.
says to this day, that was one of the ultimate compliments to hear that from those players. Because again, as Buck O'Neil wanted you to know, we could play. You know,
Mhm.
there's this kind of belief that maybe it wasn't as talented as their major league counterparts. They could play.
Like play,
They
yeah.
could really play.
Mm.
And I think the creation of the Hall of Game reminds folks by honoring some of Major League's best in the memory and spirit of those who played in the Negro Leagues, just how good those players were in the Negro Leagues.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, we, you know, a lot of people 'cause you know, growing up, I was a catcher, so I would always people would be like, "Who's your favorite catcher?" You know, I grew up in the '90s, so, like, Mickey Tettleton, okay. People are like, "Oh, do you like Johnny Bench?" Like, "No, no, no, my favorite catcher is Josh Gibson." I mean, and
mhm.
I never got to see footage of him, but it
Exactly.
was the legend of Josh Gibson was so big, it's
Big.
Mhm.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
And I love telling those Gibson stories. And of course, we have a
yes.
life-size statue of Josh Gibson on our field of legends. And we purposefully put him in a defensive posture because we wanted people to understand that he
Right.
wasn't a good catcher.
Yeah.
He was a
Amazing.
great catcher. Yeah, no, as Buck would say, rifle arm. He
Mhm.
was throwing guys out from the crouch back in that era, had complete control of his pitching staff. So he called a great game and was a good running catcher. He gonna
Yes.
steal you 20, 25 bases
That's
or more to go
fantastic.
with that big bat of his. And as I
Mhm.
tell my guests, when I say big bat, I mean big bat. 40
Oof.
ounce, 41 inches. Yeah,
Mm.
no, you got to be a man to swing that kind of lumber. And when you look
Mhm.
at the old photos of Josh, he ain't choking up.
Nope.
He got it gripped down below the knob. Big,
Mm.
massive hands, big, powerful forearms, big, powerful thighs, and great eyes. Buck O'Neil would describe Josh in this fashion, that he had the eyes of Ted Williams and the power of Babe Ruth rolled into one dynamic package. You know, those great eyes. He didn't strike out like most power hitters do.
Mhm.
Although, again, to label Gibson as a power hitter would be a mistake.
Mm.
Josh Gibson was a great hitter with power. Yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
yep,
Now
yep.
that the stats of the Negro Leagues have been integrated into the record books of Major League Baseball, he's your all-time career batting average leader at 372. Single season
Ooh.
batting record in 1943 when he only hit 466.
Be an ultimate 5-tool player. The
He
ultimate
was
5
a
Yep,
five-tool catcher.
yep.
Whew.
And if you want an understanding of who would closely best resemble Josh Gibson, think Bo Jackson as a catcher, and
Wow.
you got Josh Gibson.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
almost identically built. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
just incredible what this man could do. You know, if I could go back in time,
Yeah.
it would be awesome to see him swing that bat, though.
Oh,
I know.
yeah.
It really would.
Yep.
You know, because the guys that I know that competed against him, the stories that they have,
Oh,
I mean, yeah, his presence in that batter's box, he had no weakness. He had no
No.
weakness.
No.
You just threw it up there and hope.
Just hope for the best. Close your eyes and just
Yeah,
see what
yeah.
happens. Oh, um, talk a little bit about you offer you talk about you talking to the visitors and stuff, but you also offer the self-guided tour experiences with the text panels, the photographs,
Mhm,
artifacts, and
mhm.
film exhibits. What are some of the most impactful exhibits do you think that resonate with your visitors that show
You
up on a
know,
daily
it's
basis?
I love when the kids come in and they see the old artifacts. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you see the old early chest protector, which didn't protect a whole lot,
Mm-mm.
but I guess it was better than having nothing. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
see the old wooden shin guards, see some of the other uh, kinds of lifestyle exhibits, which was really important
Yeah.
that as you make your way through this museum, because it's not an overwhelmingly large footprint.
Mm-hmm.
Museum's only about 10,000 square feet of space, but within those 10,000 square feet is a lot of information and it's beautifully curated. But for instance, we purposely put in the hotel lobby of the Street Hotel. The Street Hotel was the Black-owned hotel right down on the corner of 18th and the Paseo here in the historic 18th and Vine Jazz District. And because we wanted our visitors to understand the economic impact that was generated by Black baseball. So wherever you had successful Black baseball, you typically had thriving Black economies. And really, what makes this story so complicated is that with integration, with Jackie Robinson's breaking of the color barrier, which spawned integration in a broader spectrum in our society, that signaled the demise of the Negro Leagues, and with it, the demise of many urban communities where the Negro Leagues had been really that catalyst that sparked economic commerce in those urban communities. And so it's somewhat bittersweet from that aspect, from the standpoint that what was good morally, what was good socially, man, it was absolutely devastating economically. But again, as I remind my guest, there is always a cost for progress. Always. Today, it is more technological in nature. But as you both know, with each technological advancement, what happens? Somebody loses their job. But this was good for the soul of our country. Jackie's breaking of the color barrier. It was good for the soul of our country. It moved us in ways socially we never dreamt possible. But it absolutely came at a price.
Another thing on, going off of the players in the league, not many people know everybody's infatuated with Shohei Ohtani because the two-way aspect. Negro Leagues were doing two-way players for decades. I mean, they had the great two-way players ever. And kind of going off that, Bob, is there a player you still feel that doesn't get nearly enough recognition even now? I mean, when I think of like Rube Foster, right? I mean, Rube, he was the first, right? The guy that made it all happen. But is there a guy that you can think of that just doesn't get enough?
No, there are several. I think as we look at the great two-way stars of the Negro Leagues, the first of that group was likely the legendary Wilbur Bullet Rogan. And Bullet Rogan was one of the, as I kind of describe, first superstars of Rube Foster's newly formed Negro National League. And there were a lot of stars in this Negro League. But Bullet Rogan and Oscar Charleston were superstars. They on another level when you talked about those two guys. And Bullet Rogan was a great pitcher for the Kansas City Monarchs. But when he wasn't pitching, he hit cleanup and played the outfield. And in the beautiful vernacular of the legendary Leroy Satchel Paige, who said that Bullet Rogan was the onlyest ball player I ever heard of, I've ever known, that pitched and hit cleanup. Yeah, and you don't just hit cleanup for the Monarchs. You got to be able to race. But Bullet Rogan was on the other end of the spectrum. Shohei is massive. He is a big young man. Bullet Rogan was maybe 5'8", 5'9", maybe weighed about 170, 180 pounds. Satchel would call him a chunky fella. Yeah, he was a chunky fella. And of course, he pitched with a no wind-up delivery, and yet his name was Bullet, because he could get it up there in a hurry. But he led the Negro Leagues in stolen bases when he was 38 years old. He didn't look like this great athlete like you look at Shohei, and you know he's a great athlete.
Yeah.
Rogan didn't look like a great athlete, but he was. And so he doesn't get nearly enough love, although we've had an opportunity to talk about Bullet Rogan a lot more, as well as many of the other two-way stars in the Negro Leagues, because of the success of the great Shohei Ohtani. The other guy is the great Cuban ball player, Martin Higo.
Yes.
His nickname was El Maestro, the master, because he could do it all. Played all 9 positions, played all 9 of them well. He is the only baseball player in the history of our sport to be enshrined into 5 different countries' baseball halls of fame. He's in the Mexican, Cuban, Venezuelan, Dominican, and in Cooperstown. I had the opportunity to tell the story as the World Series was going on last year, and Shohei was doing these incredible things. And in 1937, while playing for the Veracruz team in Mexico, Martin DeHigo did something that I don't think we will ever see in the game again. He won the pitching triple crown. He goes 19-2 with a ridiculous 0.90 ERA and struck out 184. But it gets even better. The sucker hit 387 that same season and won the batting title as well.
That's unbelievable.
But it gets even better. He was managing the Veracruz team.
Yes.
And they are in the championship game, and they faced off against a team that the legendary Leroy Satchel Paige was the starting pitcher. And DeHigo and Satchel are in an epic pitching duel that knotted up 1-1. And then in the bottom of the ninth, DeHigo hits a walk-off home run to beat Satchel. So he gets the game-winning hit. He is the winning manager on top of that incredible 37 season that he had. That won't ever be duplicated again. And so he's just one of those great two-way stars that don't get nearly enough attention. As my friend Monty Irvin would describe him, that he was a beautiful ball player. Yeah, he's 6'3", 6'4", picturesque, statuesque. You know, arm that rival Roberto Clemente, could do everything and did it gracefully. You know, so yeah, I enjoy getting to share that history about some of those great two-way stars. So I have to give a big shout out to Shohei Ohtani, because before he emerged, no one talked about two-way stars. Even though you're right, Michael, the Negro Leagues had a bunch of two-way stars, but it was really out of necessity because their roster sizes weren't as large as Major League Baseball. So they couldn't afford to have that dedicated 4 or 5 man only pitching staff. So their pitchers really had to be versatile.
Oh, for sure. Wow. Oh, wow. Talk a little bit about volunteering and getting involved. So for our listeners listening here who are interested in maybe supporting the museum, what are different ways that they could get involved in helping the museum out?
Oh, absolutely. And, I started here as a volunteer, as I mentioned, so I know the importance of volunteering. Now, I never dreamt that I'd move from being a volunteer to now trying to run this place. But I just wanted to help in any way that I can. And volunteers are the lifeblood of any not-for-profit organization. So the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum is no different. But in terms of people being able to support the mission of this museum, there are various ways. And of course, you can go to our website at www.nlbm.com, and there's a donation tab, and there are different areas in which you can support. Of course, the big initiative that we've got underway right now is our Pitch for the Future campaign for the building of a brand new Negro Leagues Baseball Museum that I am very, very excited about because, as I mentioned, guys, this is a museum that started in a little one-room office in 1990. And guys like the late, great Buck O'Neill and other local Negro Leaguers who were still with us at that time, sad to say they've all passed on, they literally took turns paying the monthly rent to keep that little office open. And as I like to say, with it, our hopes and dreams of one day building a facility that would pay rightful tribute to not one of the great chapters in baseball history, one of the greatest chapters in American history. And today we are recognized as America's national Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, as deemed and designated so by the United States Congress. And of course, we are on the verge of building an international headquarters for both Black baseball and social history with the building of a brand new 30+ thousand square foot Negro Leagues Baseball Museum that's going to be anchored right there next to the former Paseo YMCA, where the Negro Leagues were established on February 13, 1920, led by the great Andrew Root Foster. And we will build a new museum adjacent to that historic landmark. and create what I call the nation's first Negro Leagues campus as the gateway into historic 18th and Vine. So I am as excited about this initiative as you can be, particularly someone that has to raise about $35 million to get this done.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
you're like a salesman, you're a
Yeah.
pitchman, you're a storyteller, you got everything.
All rolled into one. It's
Now,
beautiful.
I mean, does everything go through you? I mean, when you were talking about the video game, even, you know, with the stats, right? I mean, with MLB being able to officially recognize Negro League stats and things, is that something like, are you the decider when like, okay, we're gonna, we're gonna give you the stats, and for the game, these are the stories I want to tell. I mean, are
Yeah.
you kind of the decider of
Yeah,
everything?
no, I'm very blessed that
Baseball?
I get a lot of autonomy in this role to do these kinds of things. I have a board of directors that really allow me to operate.
Yeah.
Some of the business ventures on some instances will require board approval, but as it relates to basic day-to-day operating kinds of things, I have a lot of autonomy to be able to do the things that I think will be the most beneficial for the museum. But you can only do that when you have a board that believes in what you're doing. And I've been very blessed to have a great group of people. I report to a board of directors. And
Yeah.
so, all the contractual things and those things are ultimately approved by the board. But from a creative standpoint, no one stifles the creativity.
Yeah.
And that's why I think we all enjoy the work that we're doing, because you have the latitude to be as creative as you can possibly be. I go back and I think about 2020
Mhm.
and the pandemic that devastated everyone.
Yeah.
Well, if you recall, 2020 was the 100th anniversary of the
Mhm.
birth of the Negro Leagues.
Yep.
And we had planned this big year-long celebration, and we had gotten a group of, an all-star group of delegates into the Buck O'Neill Center, the Purcell YMCA, on the exact 100th anniversary of the birth of the Negro Leagues to announce this big year-long celebration.
Mhm.
And of course, as you both know, we made this announcement on February 13th. March 14th, man, I was shut the doors to the Negro Leagues
Yep.
Baseball Museum,
Oh my
a
god.
month later, and
Oh.
dealing with this pandemic that I think we all thought it was just going to end very quickly, but it didn't.
Mhm.
And we had to figure out a way to salvage that 100th anniversary celebration,
Yeah.
because all the things that we had hoped to do, we quickly realized we weren't going to be able to do them. And I'll never forget, I'm sitting here in my office. Honestly, I don't even think I was supposed to be in the office, but I had to get out the house. So I came to the office and I'm sitting around. And as I oftentimes say, as a steward of this story, you know that you are not allowed to wallow in self pity. That would be doing a complete disservice to those who call the Negro Leagues home.
Yep.
But, they never cried about the social injustice. They went out
Mhm.
and did something about it. You won't
Yep.
let me play with you? I'll create a league of my own. So you're not supposed to be wallowing. But fellas, I'd be lying to you if I told you there wasn't some wallowing going on. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was devastated because we had so much riding on this 100th anniversary celebration. And so I'm here in my office. I'm trying to figure out what can we do. And I had an epiphany. And every time I have a bad idea, I vetted with my dear friend, my brother from another mother, Joe Posnanski, the great writer. And Joe and we've known each other for years. And so I called Joe. I said, Joe, what do you think about an idea to do a virtual tip your cap to the Negro Leagues? Maybe we can get a few ball players, few dignitaries, few baseball fans take picture, video of themselves tipping their cap,
Yeah.
create a micro website, and maybe that will help generate some interest in this anniversary celebration. And because we were going to do this in stadium,
Yeah.
and it was supposed to happen in June of 2020. Well, it was pretty apparent this wasn't going to happen in June because
Right.
at that time we didn't even know not only if they were going to play, when they were going to play baseball, but rather if they were going to play baseball, because they were in very contentious negotiations on whether or not they were going to play this game at all. And so I'm waiting for him to tell me, Bob, we don't have enough time to pull that together. And he didn't say that. He thought it was a great idea. And then he reached out to his business partner, a guy named Dan McGinn, tremendous communication strategist out of the DC area. And he thought it was a great idea. And the three of us went to work. And in about a week's time, we rolled out this campaign called Tip Your Cap to the Negro Leagues. And we rolled it out with 4 U.S. presidents tipping their cap.
Wow.
President Obama, President Clinton, President George W. Bush, and late great President Jimmy Carter, all tipping their cap, transcending groundbreaking athletes like Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Billie Jean King, my all-time favorite player, Henry Aaron. The list just went on and on and on, and this thing goes viral. And all of a sudden, this feeling of doom and gloom that had consumed me turned into renewed hope and optimism. And to be honest, we haven't looked back since. So I guess you could say that we were channeling that resilient spirit that drove the Negro Leagues, and we pulled ourselves out of the doldrums and was able to make something out of that crazy period of time when everybody was being challenged with this pandemic.
Yeah.
And so, I so greatly appreciate the ability to be creative. And it goes back to what we talked about from a marketing, PR, advertising standpoint. That's the strength. And I think that's what is oftentimes needed with museums.
Oh, for sure. Oh, wow. This is great, Bob. I'm telling you, just listening to you and listening to Michael, you guys are both really, really good storytellers. I feel like I'm in the presence of just some great stuff here. I wanted to just circle back one more question on the more education, and talked a little more about looking towards the future and the future generations. So beyond like just the physical museum, how are you reaching your audiences through like digital exhibitions and educational resources such as that?
Well, we're probably one of the few museums that, number one, build its own traveling exhibitions.
Yeah.
We started doing that. I mentioned that was how I got involved, was with one of those traveling exhibitions called Discover Greatness, still touring the country 33 years later. And we just continued to build traveling exhibitions, I think, because we felt that, number one, that there was no one who could tell the stories better than we could.
For sure.
But there really was no one out there building exhibitions around Negro Leagues history. And so we started to build our own touring exhibitions. And then we started creating digital experiences from some of those touring exhibitions. So there are 2 digital exhibitions on our website. One called Barrier Breakers, and the Barrier Breaker exhibit, which there's a physical exhibit inside the museum. There's a touring exhibition by the same name that is traveling the country as well. It tells the story of all of baseball's integration pioneers. So from Jackie Robinson joining Brooklyn on April 15, 1947, through Elijah Pumpsie Green completing the integration cycle 12 years later. It took 12 years before every major league team had at least one black baseball player. The Boston Red Sox would become the last team to integrate in 1959 when they signed a guy by the name of Elijah Pumpsie Green. That would complete the integration cycle. By 1960, the Negro League ceased operations because by then the best young black and brown stars had moved into the major leagues or into the major leagues minor league system, and there was no replenishing system. So if you were an aspiring young black or brown player, you no longer needed the Negro Leagues. You could go directly into the major leagues or into his minor league system and then work your way to the big leagues. And so the Negro Leagues would then cease operations. But as you both know, we know Jackie's story. And if you don't know Jackie's story, there are books, there are films, lots of places that you can turn and learn his story. But the other integration pioneers, no one knows virtually anything about them. Just before I jumped on with you guys, I had just finished an interview with a PBS station talking about the great Elston Howard, the first
Yeah.
black Yankee.
Yep.
Yeah. Ellie played here for the Kansas City Monarchs. Played for Buck O'Neill. Buck got him out of Vashon High School in St. Louis, where he turned down Big Ten football scholarship offers, the likes of Illinois, Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, to come to Kansas City to play for Buck and the Kansas City Monarchs. And his roommate was the great Ernie Banks.
Oh, wow.
And Ernie Banks used to tell me, guys, that he and Ellie would sit up at night and they would dream out loud about which of them would get to the majors first, because now it's not a pipe dream.
Right.
Jackie has broken the color barrier. Slowly but surely, other blacks had started to move into Major League Baseball. So they knew that this opportunity was real. And of course, Ernie would beat his roommate to the majors. Ellie would become a member, the first black player signed by the New York Yankees. The Yankees converted him into a catcher. He was an outfielder with the Monarchs. And it caused Ellie quite a bit of his career, because when your catcher is Yogi Berra,
Yeah.
you ain't ever gonna catch.
See the field. Yeah.
So they put Ellie in the minor leagues, where he worked on learning to be a catcher, and he toiled there in the minors for quite some time. But when he came up, he became the heart and soul of those Yankee teams. The first African-American MVP in the American League. You see, the American League was very slow to sign black players. They didn't really want black players. They kind of had to come along for the ride, whereas the National League was very aggressive going after this black talent, which is why, and it's one of the most interesting factoids relative to the impact that the Negro Leagues had. From 1949 through 1959, 9 of 11 National League MVPs were former Negro League stars.
Wow.
Yeah.
Love it.
And so, you tell Elston Howard's story, and you tell the story of Larry Doby and these other integration pioneers. Larry Doby, as you both know, would integrate the American League just weeks after Jackie breaks the color barrier in 1947. He is the forgotten man. It's only been over the last decade that people have really started to talk readily about Larry Doby and his pioneering role. Larry Doby would join then the Cleveland Indians on July 5th, 1947. Larry Doby, fellas, was 23 years old. He was just a baby, thrown into a powder keg of racism, and he handled himself with the same grace, class, and dignity that we rightfully celebrate Jackie for having demonstrated. And Larry Doby never played not one day in the minor leagues.
Wow.
He went straight from Effa Manley's Newark Eagles over to Cleveland. And in 1948, Larry Doby and the old man, Leroy Satchel Paige, helped Cleveland win the World Series.
That's right.
Now, my Cleveland fans get tired of hearing me say this. That was the last time Cleveland won the World Series, was in 1948, led by, again, Larry Doby and the old man, Leroy Satchel Paige.
Man.
Wow.
So that barrier breaker exhibit is online, and you can interact with it. It's a beautiful exhibition. And then the other digital exhibition is called Negro Leagues Baseball, the Spanish spelling of the word baseball.
Yeah.
And it celebrates the little known but very profound connection between the Negro Leagues and Spanish-speaking countries from around the globe. You see, Negro League players were oftentimes the first Americans to play in many Spanish-speaking countries. And fellas, when we went to those countries, we were treated like heroes. So now you're going to stay in the finest hotels that those countries had to offer, eat in their finest restaurants. And then, of course, you come back home and you were treated like a second-class citizen. So as a result, a lot of Negro League players would call those Spanish-speaking countries home for one simple reason. In those countries, they weren't black baseball players. They were just baseball players.
Yeah.
And of course, in this country, the Afro-Latino athlete in particular could not play in the major leagues either. Once upon a time, white Cubans could play. But if you were really of any other descent, you couldn't play. And so they found sanctuary playing in the Negro Leagues. So when Jackie breaks color barrier, he didn't do it for just American-born blacks. He does it for every player of color who now enjoys this game. And we wanted to tout that brotherhood that was bonded by baseball. And what I love about that exhibition, it is written in both English and in Spanish.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Love it. I love it.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
But Bob, one last question, because I mean, this is amazing. We could listen to you all day, all day.
Really good.
You know, you've seen a lot. I mean, you said how long you've been doing this, for 30 plus years now?
Ooh, 33 years, my affiliation with this museum. I became president in 2011, so my 15th year as president of this organization.
So, I mean, in that time, I mean, you've seen some big things happening with the museum. I mean, you've seen the inception from, like you said, I mean, just how it started out to where it is now. I mean, you've seen baseball, recognize Negro League stats, the game at Rickwood, which I thought was fantastic. I loved you were part of that broadcast, and I thought that was amazing. Unfortunately, obviously, it was in the shadow of Willie Mays' passing, which was just really sad. But I got to ask you, Bob, what do you expect from the next Bob Kendrick when he takes over for you or she? What are they going to have to go through in the decades to follow, and what do you expect them to be?
Well,
to fill your shoes, which are pretty big shoes to fill.
First and foremost, I want to try and leave this museum in a much better position so that when they get here, they won't have to work quite as hard as I did. But I hope they have as much fun as I have had doing this. Fellas, this has been an absolute labor of love. It really has. Every day you walk into this museum, you feel good. You feel good because you know that you're doing something that is bigger than you are. And we talk about this even as our staff and team. We talk about when you do that, there's nothing more gratifying than it is to leave something that will stand the test of time so that others will have an opportunity to enjoy it, to learn, to be inspired by it. And so whoever subsequently follows me, I want to make it as easy for them as possible. I hope, as I mentioned earlier, they'll keep these stories alive. I would encourage them to be as creative as they can possibly be. I don't want them to forget old Bob. So whoever comes, I want them to make sure that they understand that hopefully they are having to fill some big shoes, but I don't want them to be intimidated by stepping into my shoes because, when I took the baton from Buck O'Neil, and I can tell you now, there would be a lot of people. His shadow looms large here, man. And there would be a lot of people who would be afraid to have his shadow looming over you. And see, I was always smart enough to understand that there is no way in the world I can feel Buck shoot. You can't do it. And for me, his shadow looming over me protects me. And that he is guiding my footsteps. Yeah, and so whoever follows me, I hope they feel the same way. Because it's not competing against me.
Right.
It's about doing whatever you can to continue to grow this institution and position it in such a way where it will continue to be able to sustain itself so that future generations will have an opportunity to not only come here and learn about the history of the Negro Leagues, but be inspired by this incredible story and the life lessons that stem from this story of triumph over adversity.
That's sad. Yeah,
Bob, thank you again for joining us. You're still with your podcast, right? Black Diamonds, right?
Black Diamonds. We got over 100 episodes kind of cataloged now on Sirius XM radio. And of course, you can get the podcast anywhere that you download your podcast, Spotify, Pandora, virtually anywhere that you get your podcast. It's been a joy to bring those stories because you touched on something earlier the Ken Burns documentary.
Yes.
And I have to remind myself that you're right. That happened in the 90s. So there's an entire another generation of baseball fans who had not heard these stories when Buck so eloquently burst across the screen when he was in Ken Burns' documentary. And so we've been able to build quite a following of new baseball fans who, for the better part, are hearing these stories for the very first time.
Wow. Beautiful.
Thanks again for joining us, Bob.
Yeah, Bob.
Thanks.
My pleasure, guys. Thank y'all for having me.
All right. Well, that was dope. Hopefully we can get Bob back on another time, just because there's so much more I wanted to, and I know you did, just to talk to him. And I said it during the interview, such a great storyteller. Listening to you and him, just the way that you can craft things, I was like, just to be on a fly on the wall is a privilege to be a part of it. So
it's just storyteller, man. Just gotta, it was great. It was a fun interview. I hope he comes back, man.
Yeah. And with that, shall we head on over Collection Corner?
Let's do it.
All right. Yeah.
Ready to ride the next big hobby wave? Market Movers puts the entire sports card and TCG market right in your hands. With pricing on over 7 million cards powered by real sales data, including eBay, Fanatics Collect, Golden, Heritage, and more. Track your collection on mobile or desktop. Instantly see your value and P&L by sport, year, player, set, or grade. Compare any card side by side. Monitor live price swings to spot trends early. Uncover underpriced deals. And set custom alerts so you never miss a move. With Market Movers, you turn market data into smarter buys, bigger profits, and a stronger collection. Sign up today and try it risk-free for 14 days. Plus, get 20% off for life with the promo code GONE20 at marketmoversapp.com.
Well, Mike, hopefully, I think with this one, my pick should be pretty easy for you. Going here on the from my collection that I've added onto the Market Movers app. Let me give you some stuff here. I know we're a little pressed for time, so this is a recent free agent signing. Okay. Basically, started his career. First start of his actual career was July 4th of 2005. 4th of July start against the Cleveland Indians at that point.
Okay.
He spent his first 13 years of his career with the Detroit Tigers, and then we decided to rebuild and trade him away, for a haul of can't miss prospects, which turned out that can't miss prospect was Jake Rogers.
Oh man!
And this guy went on to win 2 Cy Young awards and 2 World Series championships, and and basically pitch another no hitter, and we continued with Daz Cameron and Jake Rogers, and who was the guy that was supposed to be the can't miss one that ended up having the arm problems and didn't even make
Franklin Perez.
Franklin Perez, yeah. But now he's back. To finish what he started here and hopefully make a run to a World Series. He's a 2006 AL Rookie of the Year, Triple Crown winner in 2011, where he won the AL MVP. He won the Cy Young. Just a great guy. Married to Kate Upton. What can you say about that? That's awesome. Who am I talking about here? It's not Mickey Lolich.
Justin Verlander.
It is Justin Verlander. And it's funny, Wikipedia actually has him back. They already have it updated where he's on the Detroit Tigers again. Card that I have on the on Market Movers right now is his 2017 Topps Triple Threads. Pretty cool card. It's limited number on there. Kind of bouncing around. The raw one, recent sales have gone anywhere between 30 up to up to as high as about $40-$45. It's a pretty dope card. Nice. Justin Verlander, he's back.
Okay, mine should be pretty easy considering who we just talked to. That should give it a big clue. But my guy,
a Bob Kendrick card.
A Bob Kendrick card now. Right-handed pitcher, maybe one of the greatest pitchers maybe one of the oldest pitchers to ever play Major League Baseball. And he ended up making his debut with the Cleveland Indians in 1948. But first, he started his professional debut with in the Negro Leagues, the Birmingham Black Barons in 19 27, even though that date's kind of, some people are like, oh, maybe not. But he was an old fucker, man. I mean, you're talking Black Barons who played for the Cleveland Cubs, the Pittsburgh Crawfords, maybe one of his most popular teams, the Kansas City Monarchs, a couple years, New York Black Yankees. This is a guy who has legends galore, was inducted in the Hall of Fame in 1971 by the Negro Leagues committee, which he should have just went in as soon as. Right. I mean, they got in. I think it was considered. It wasn't even a ballot. It was just like, this is when they were letting Negro Leagues in, right? So it was basically they had a committee and they were just letting people in, which obviously they chose a lot of good ones. He's a World Series champion, arguably, which was awesome. Not arguably, he was a World Series champion in 1948 with the Cleveland Indians, also a Negro League World Series champion in 1942. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. It's Satchel Paige.
That is correct. Mr. Satchel Paige. Yes. I went in the Market Movers app and I got a 1953 Topps Satchel Paige. It's his rookie card.
Nice. Which
is funny because his rookie card came out in 1953, even though he played in 1948 for the Indians.
I was going to say, it's got to be pretty old for one of the oldest people to have a rookie card, I'd say.
Yeah, and he looks old in the card too. It's basically a drawing of him with the St. Louis. Well, this was the St. Louis Browns. Him in the St. Louis Browns card. I wouldn't even consider it. This sentence says rookie card, which I think is wrong because his rookie would have been before that. But it's one of his most valuable cards. It goes for around $1,750. And yeah, I mean, it's a heavily sought after card, and this is high grade. This is on a 4, right? On a very good 4. So Satchel Paige is my pick of the week.
Two quality pitchers there.
Yeah.
And I love it. Should we get the candles out and celebrate a birthday?
Let's do it.
All right. Looking online here for this guy, I think one of my favorite cards, just looking him up, would be his 1934 Gowdy, number 34, and it's a none other than Chick Haffey. It's a happy heavenly birthday to Cardinals great and Hall of Famer Chick Haffey, born on February the 12th of 1903. Mike, you're gonna love these stats, all right? 317 career batting average, great. That's one of our check marks. 164 home runs, 833 runs batted in. Spent his first part of his career with the St. Louis Cardinals, then he moved on to the Cincinnati Reds. Here's some of his career highlights. A one-time All-Star. 2-time World Series champion. An NL batting champion. And part of the St. Louis Cardinals Hall of Fame. Elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Come on!
No! You know what time it is? Via the Veterans Committee.
Sons of bitches!
This is probably what got him into the Hall of Fame, all right?
But he's a nice guy.
Yeah. He blew the Veterans Committee.
Blowjobs? Right? Yeah, he blew everybody in the Veterans Committee.
You know it. Haffey made history with the first hit in an All-Star game, starting in left field and batting cleanup for the National League in the 1933 All-Star game, which happened to be his only All-Star appearance. Put that bastard in the Hall of Fame, right? Yep. So Chick Haffey.
Chick Haffey. Happy birthday, you son of a bitch.
That's right.
Well, that's a fucking show.
Happy 250 here, man. Can you believe that?
250. That's great, man. Happy 250 indeed.
Yeah.
251 next week, and the train just keeps moving.
Yep, train keeps chugging along. I think pitchers and catchers report coming up here, right? This weekend.
Catchers report.
Yep.
Move on.
The Baseball Classic kicks off in March.
Right. Baseball Classic. Yep. The World Baseball Classic, which is huge. We'll be covering a lot of part about that. We have some good interviews
still got
coming
some
up.
Free agents that are still looking for homes.
Right. Marcell Ozuna signed with the Pittsburgh Pirates, who are making moves.
Jeez.
See? Crazy.
Yeah. The Pirates, are they trying to go all in here?
I think they're trying to keep Paul Skeens.
I think that's pretty much it. Paul Skeens probably had a little chatsky with him and said, all right, if you want to keep me long term, you guys got to show that you have a pulse. All right.
Yeah.
Be great. Thanks.
That'd be great. Thanks, guys. I love it. I love what they're trying to do, and it's good to see the Pittsburgh Pirates trying. It's really not that hard because they're not signing. We're not talking about hundreds of millions of worth of dollars here. I mean, some of these guys you can get pretty good. So, Yeah, it's great, man. It's great for baseball, and we'll see. We'll see how this all shakes out, but it should be a fun couple months coming up, and some good guests coming, and we got a lot going on. But
excited, very excited.
Absolutely, man, absolutely. Yeah. But in the meantime, guys, have a great week, and also keep following us on the Underdog podcasts as well. We appreciate all the viewers, the listeners. Head over to Long Gone the podcast. On our YouTube channel, that's where you get a little bit more content. Make sure to subscribe, share, like, whatever order you like would be fantastic. Talk to us, comment, I'll get into those comments and bitch you out if you want.
Yeah, you get into it on Reddit.
Yeah, I'm going into it on Reddit, which is wild. But keep it up because we love it. We love the conversation. So in the meantime, guys, and happy and great. And congrats to the winner of the Market Movers, Jared there, right?
Yeah, Jared G.
Yep. Congrats, dude. So as well. So guys, look out for future giveaways as well as we'll be having on the show. But in the meantime, have a great week, everybody, and we will catch you guys all next week.
Deuces.